I need to tell you something about this season that I don't think most people know. 2 major outbreaks in the first 12 days of March produced 138 confirmed tornadoes and all 11 of the season's fatalities so far. The record March heat wave that pushed Arizona to 112 degrees Fahrenheit also loaded the atmosphere with the energy that fueled these outbreaks. All 11 of the season's fatalities. In the first 12 days of March, before April even started, before the EF4 in Enid, before the Runaway Bay deaths, before the man on Salado Creek, before the 80 tornado outbreak on April 17th. All 11 deaths happened in 2 back-to-back events in the first 2 weeks of the season. Outbreak number 1, 32 tornadoes, 8 deaths. An EF2 in Fairview, Oklahoma killed a mother and her 13-year-old daughter when their vehicle was thrown off U.S. Highway 60. An EF3 in Union City, Michigan, the strongest Michigan tornado in 49 years, killed 3 people, including a 12-year-old boy, with winds reaching 160 miles per hour. Another EF3 struck Beggs, Oklahoma, killing 2. Outbreak number 2, 106 tornadoes, 3 deaths. Includes an EF5. The Wells County, Indiana EF5 had winds over 200 km along a 14, 6-mile track. It was only the second EF5 in the U.S. since 2013. A mother and her 13-year-old daughter. A 12-year-old boy in Michigan. An EF5 in Indiana with 200 mph winds along a 14, 6-mile path. These are not abstractions. These are people. These are the human faces of what this spring has been. And today, Wednesday, May the 6th, 2026, an extremely dangerous weather event is actively unfolding across the Deep South. Alabama, which did not receive a single tornado warning in all of April for the first time since 2004, is now in a severe weather environment with mid to upper 60-degree dew points and storm relative helicity values. The SPC is forecasting above 250 meters squared per second squared. The season has cost 12 lives. Worldwide, 15 tornado-related deaths have been confirmed, 12 in the United States, and the atmosphere is not finished. Let me tell you what is happening right now, because this is not a forecast for tomorrow. It is a description of a weather event that is actively unfolding as this video is recorded. A volatile weather setup is unfolding across the Midwest and Mississippi Valley, as the Fox Forecast Center warns of a potential severe storm outbreak. More than 60 million Americans are at risk for intense tornadoes, very large hail, and damaging winds. The window for the highest impact is expected between 2 p.m. and midnight local time. 60 million Americans. The window opened this afternoon, and the specific threat corridor that has emerged for the Deep South, Alabama, Mississippi, the Tennessee Valley, carries the most concerning atmospheric parameters of the entire day's setup. The SPC's current discussion confirms what I described in yesterday's video is now coming into focus with high-resolution model detail. Scattered, strong to severe thunderstorms are expected. Wednesday afternoon and evening across portions of Texas into the lower Mississippi and Tennessee valleys and southern Appalachians. Damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of tornadoes will be possible. Further south, from northeast Texas into Mississippi and Alabama, strong destabilization is forecast where deep boundary layer moisture and stronger daytime heating occurs. Deep moisture will be in place across the Gulf Coast and Deep South with dew points in the mid to upper 60s Fahrenheit. Mid to upper 60s dew points across the Gulf Coast and Deep South. That is extraordinary atmospheric moisture for early May, moisture that gives every thunderstorm that develops access to nearly unlimited fuel for explosive updraft growth. In this environment, storms that develop do not need to struggle to find instability. It is sitting there, fully loaded, waiting for a trigger. And the trigger is the cold front, moving south-southeast through the afternoon, arriving in Mississippi and Alabama by late afternoon and into the evening. Exactly the wrong time of day for the Deep South. When surface heating has peaked, instability is at its maximum, and the nocturnal low-level jet is beginning to strengthen. Today is May 6th, 2026. I want to point out something that I think is deeply significant and deeply underappreciated in today's coverage. Exactly 2 years ago today, May 6th, 2024, one of the most significant tornado outbreaks in recent American history began. A major tornado outbreak occurred across the central and southern United States between May 6th and 10th, 2024, as a result of a slow-moving trough that was moving across the country. The Storm Prediction Center issued a tornado-driven high-risk convective outlook for portions of central Oklahoma and extreme southern Kansas early on May 6th. Millions of people were put under a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch later that evening, as many tornadoes were reported across the region, particularly in Oklahoma, where a violent EF4 tornado struck the towns of Barnsdall and Bartlesville, Oklahoma. May 6th, 2024, EF4 Barnsdall and Bartlesville. Then, the outbreak spread east and south over the following days. Severe and tornadic weather spread eastward over the Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee valleys over the next 2 days, with a nocturnal outbreak occurring in the Tennessee Valley on May 8th, as tornadic supercell thunderstorms produced many tornadoes across the states of Tennessee, northern Alabama, and western Georgia. Tennessee, northern Alabama. Western Georgia, a nocturnal outbreak. 2 years ago today, at the exact same corridor that today's event is targeting, the exact same deep south geography, the exact same nocturnal timing concern. I'm not drawing a superstitious connection between the date and the danger. I am pointing out something meteorologically significant, the large-scale atmospheric pattern that produces major severe weather outbreaks in the central U.S. during the first week of May has historically concentrated its energy over specific geographic corridors, the Tennessee Valley, northern Alabama, the Deep South, and it has done so in multiple years, across multiple decades. The May 6th to 10 window is one of the most climatologically active severe weather periods on the entire calendar. The National Weather Service in Paducah forecast for May 8, 2024, noted a tornado-driven enhanced risk issued across the Ohio Valley. On May 8th, a wind and hail-driven moderate risk was introduced, with more severe weather and tornadoes impacting much of the middle Mississippi and Tennessee valleys. PDS tornado warnings were issued for tornadoes near Equality, Illinois, and Aurora, Missouri. The 2024 outbreak built over multiple days, escalating from May 6th through May 10th, with each successive day adding new severe weather chapters across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. Today's event has the same temporal structure, a multi-day buildup with Wednesday targeting the Deep South and the period through the weekend potentially carrying additional rounds as the pattern reloads. The communities of Alabama and Tennessee do not need to worry about the date. They need to worry about the atmosphere. But the atmosphere today bears a striking resemblance to what it was doing 2 years ago on this same date. I need to address something that emerged from the Wikipedia Tornadoes of 2026 article. A confirmed specific safety concern about the NWS warning infrastructure that directly affects how accurately today's severe weather can be forecast and warned. Representative Sharice Davids sent a letter to the National Weather Service over concerns of missing data due to skipped weather balloon launches. These are not an obscure technical footnote. They are one of the fundamental inputs to every atmospheric model and every severe weather forecast in America. Twice a day, at midnight and noon UTC, the National Weather Service launches weather balloons from approximately 100 locations across the United States. Each balloon carries a radiosonde, a small instrument package that measures temperature, humidity, wind speed, and direction at every altitude from the surface to the upper atmosphere. The data from these soundings is the raw material that feeds every numerical weather prediction model, every severe thunderstorm watch, every tornado probability calculation. When balloon launches are skipped, because offices are understaffed, because funding cuts have reduced personnel, because equipment is not maintained, the data gaps are real. Models run with less accurate initial conditions. Forecasts carry more uncertainty. Warning lead times may be shorter. And in severe weather events that depend on precise knowledge of the atmospheric profile, the exact CAPE values, the specific wind shear profiles, the precise capping structure, data gaps translate directly into reduced forecast accuracy. Representative David's letter to the NWS joins Governor Whitmer's probe into why Michigan counties received no tornado watch during April's Wake Low event that killed a man. 2 separate federal-level investigations into NWS data and warning quality in a single spring, both prompted by real events where people were either killed or nearly killed in weather situations where better data or better staffing might have changed the outcome. Today, as an extremely dangerous weather event unfolds across Alabama and the Deep South, with mid to upper 60-degree dew points, SRH above 250 to -2, and 60 million people in the threat zone, the quality of the atmospheric sounding data feeding the forecast models is not an abstract policy question. It is a direct determinant of whether the tornado warnings that protect those 60 million people are accurate in their location, timing, and intensity. This is why I keep saying, the warning system saves lives, but only if it works. And right now, there are 2 congressional and gubernatorial investigations underway into whether it is fully working. I want to return to something from the opening section, because I think it deserves more than a passing mention. An EF3 in Union City, Michigan, the strongest Michigan tornado in 49 years, killed 3 people, including a 12-year-old boy, with winds reaching 160 mph. A 12-year-old boy in Union City, Michigan, killed by an EF3 tornado with 160 mph winds, the strongest Michigan tornado in nearly half a century, in March, before peak tornado season had even started, in a state that most Americans would not put on their list of high-risk tornado locations. A monstrous tornado was caught on camera as it tore through Union City, Michigan, leveling homes and unleashing devastating damage in its path. This tornado for a short moment was actually sucking up ice from the lake. Sucking up ice from the lake? A tornado powerful enough to pull ice from a Great Lakes water body into its circulation. 160 millistaringer winds, an EF3 in Michigan in March. and a 12-year-old child who didn't survive it. This child is the reason I make these videos. This child is the reason I spend hours every day reading forecast discussions and WPC extended outlooks and SPC Day 4.8 discussions and agricultural weather highlights. Because somewhere in the path of today's weather event, in Alabama or Mississippi or the Tennessee Valley, there are children in homes and schools. There are families who have been through the spring's warnings and maybe started to feel a little desensitized to the alerts. There are communities that had 0 tornado warnings in April and may not be thinking about today's threat with the urgency it deserves. The 12-year-old boy in Union City, Michigan, died in the kind of tornado that shouldn't happen in Michigan. He died in a state with no recent history of tornadoes that strong, in a month when people don't expect severe weather in what many people would have called a low-risk location. The 2026 season has proven that no location is low risk when the atmospheric ingredients align. And today, in Alabama and Mississippi, those ingredients are aligning. I want to spend time on the Wells County, Indiana EF5, because I believe it is the single most important severe weather event in understanding the character of this spring season and what it is telling us about the atmosphere we are living in. The Wells County, Indiana EF5 had winds over 200 mph along 014, 6-mile track. It was only the second EF5 in the U.S. since 2013. The first was the Enderlin, North Dakota EF5 in June 2025, which itself ended a 12-year EF5 drought. The 2026 Wells County EF5 is one of only approximately 60 F5 and EF5 tornadoes since 1950, one of only 60 in 76 years of records. We are now on the pace of 2 EF5 tornadoes in less than a year, Enderlin in June 2025, Wells County in March 2026, after 12 years of no EF5s between 2013 and 2025. Only about 2% of tornadoes are EF4 or stronger, and EF5s are roughly 1%. But they cause approximately 70% of all tornado deaths. 1% of all tornadoes. 70% of all tornado deaths. The mathematics of violent tornado risk is stark and unambiguous. The rarest events are responsible for the vast majority of the human cost. And the 2026 spring season has produced the second EF5 in American history since 2013. In Indiana, in March, in what is being forecast as a near-average tornado year. What does this mean for today's event in Alabama? It means that a near-average tornado count, a forecast of 1,050 to 1,250 tornadoes nationally, does not tell you anything useful about whether the tornado that strikes your community will be an EF0 that inconveniences you or an EF3 that destroys your neighborhood. The seasonal count average is irrelevant to the individual community and the path of the individual storm. What matters today in Alabama and Mississippi and the Tennessee Valley is the atmospheric profile over those communities right now. Mid to upper 60-degree dew points, SRH above 250 Metron RS2, strong deep layer shear, a cold front-triggering development in the afternoon into evening. These are the parameters that the SPC is evaluating when they assess whether today's event could produce violent tornadoes. And in this environment, any storm that develops and maintains supercell mode is capable of producing a significant tornado. Let me name the communities that are in the active threat zone right now, because the afternoon development window is open. Mississippi, Jackson Meridian, Tupelo, Columbus, Starkville. Mississippi sits in the corridor of mid to upper 60-degree dew points and the strong destabilization forecast by the SPC. Any storm that develops along the cold front as it sweeps through Mississippi this afternoon and evening will have access to extraordinary atmospheric fuel. The terrain in Mississippi provides minimal visual warning for approaching tornadoes. Storms move fast, and in the elevated humidity conditions of a 67-degree dew point environment, rain wrapping of any rotating circulation can reduce visual warning to near zero. Alabama, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, Florence, Gadsden, Anniston. Alabama averages 14 tornado deaths per year, more than any other state, including Texas and Oklahoma. 14 deaths per year on average, more than any other state. And today, Alabama faces its first significant severe weather threat of 2026 after a month-long complete absence of tornado warnings. The combination of a population that leads the nation in tornado mortality, a month of zero warning quiet that has reduced preparedness vigilance, and an atmospheric environment with SRH above 250 microhertz 2. This is the specific scenario that produces preventable deaths when warnings don't reach people or when people don't act on the warnings they receive. Tennessee Valley, Nashville, Huntsville, Chattanooga, Florence. The SPC's forecast of SRH increasing above 250 microhertz 2 is centered on the Tennessee Valley and Southern Appalachians corridor. Nashville and Huntsville specifically sit in the geographic heart of where the warm advection, the moist boundary layer, and the favorable low-level shear converge for Wednesday's event. The 2024 May 6 to 10 outbreak featured a nocturnal severe weather event in the Tennessee Valley on May 8th. as tornadic supercell thunderstorms produced many tornadoes across Tennessee, northern Alabama, and western Georgia. 2 years ago, this exact corridor was hit nocturnally. The same nocturnal risk applies tonight as the low-level jet strengthens after sunset. Let me step back and put today in the full context of this season, because I think people deserve to understand the magnitude of what 2026 has already been, and what it is still in the process of becoming. March 2026 was not just busy, it was historic. 2 major outbreaks in the first 12 days produced 138 confirmed tornadoes and all 11 of the season's fatalities so far. 138 tornadoes in 12 days. An EF5 in Indiana, 3 EF3s across Michigan, Oklahoma, and Illinois. A mother and daughter killed on a highway. A 12-year-old boy killed in a tornado that hadn't been matched in that state in half a century. And then April, which produced 87 more confirmed tornadoes in the multi-day outbreak sequence, including the Enid EF4, the Mineral Wells EF3, the Stone County PDS warning, the twin tornadoes in Foraker, the deaths in Runaway Bay, the death on Salado Creek, the mobile home victim in Parker County. A month where Alabama had 0 tornado warnings, Iowa set its record low warning count, while the corridor from Kansas to Wisconsin was being hit over and over. Worldwide, 15 tornado-related deaths have been confirmed, 12 in the United States, 2 in India, and 1 in Israel. 12 American lives. In a near-average tornado season. The season's human cost concentrated entirely in March's first 2 events, because those March events were the most violent tornadoes of the entire spring, featuring the only EF5 and multiple EF3s. And now May is arriving with the tornado belt shifting toward its summer target zone, with Alabama and Mississippi and the Tennessee Valley stepping into the primary risk corridor for the first time in 2026. The bottom line? 2026 may not rival the extreme tornado counts of 2024 through 2025 on a national scale, but the year has already proven that it only takes 1 nocturnal wedge in Oklahoma or a rare early March tornado in Michigan to turn a near-normal season into a life-changing disaster for the people in its path. 1 event. For 1 community. That is all it takes. And today, the atmosphere is pointing at Alabama. Here is where we stand on Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. 12 Americans have died in tornado-related events this season. All 12 in March's first 2 outbreaks, including a mother and her 13-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old boy in Michigan, victims of an EF3 in Oklahoma, and the Wells County, Indiana EF5, with 200 mph winds. The most violent spring tornadoes the United States has seen since 2013. And today, as Alabama faces its first significant tornado threat, after a complete April without a single tornado warning, the atmosphere is delivering mid to upper 60-degree dew points, SRH above 250 meteorologists, and a cold front triggering afternoon convective development across the deep south. 60 million people in the threat zone. The window opened this afternoon. It extends into tonight. This will be a dangerous stretch of severe weather across the central United States, warned AccuWeather senior meteorologist Dan Pydanowski. Millions of residents from the south to the upper Midwest face the potential for life-threatening storms. Life-threatening. That is the word AccuWeather's senior meteorologist used. Not concerning, not potentially impactful, life-threatening. The 12-year-old boy in Union City, Michigan, did not expect that his march would be dangerous. The mother and daughter on U.S. Highway 60 in Oklahoma were driving on a road that had been safe every previous time they drove it. The victims of this season did not know, when they woke up on the morning of their last day, that the atmosphere had lined up against them. You know, you're watching this video, you have the information, you have the warning, you have the time, right now before the storms develop this afternoon, to identify your shelter, charge your phone, set your overnight alerts, and tell your family what to do when the warning comes. Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee. The extremely dangerous weather event that is unfolding today is not going to be the last one of this season, but it is the one that is happening right now. Be ready before it arrives. I will be back with damage reports and updates as this event concludes. Stay safe. For the 12 who couldn't, please take this seriously.